very nice to have everybody back. I hope you had a good weekend. So let's get started here because some of the classes we have extended a little bit longer, and I know sometimes you have to do things afterwards. So what I have today, what I want to talk. So this is I'm going to show you just a couple of shots that I took with the iPhone. Actually, this is my daughter, PD. This photograph was taken on our last trip to China. And the reason that I chose the photograph is because I noticed something very peculiar with all the submissions, the color submissions that you sent me. It is very interesting, and this is not only you, this applies to everyone, right? When you give directions to someone and you say, I want you to introduce color as the main element of your photograph, something that pretty much all of you have done, it's give me a very minimalist photograph where color is the primary, but then composition has been reduced to something that is minimal. So there's no cases where there's a wide angle scene where color is present. All of you have narrowed your vision into something very small, which is fine. That's why I put that exercise to make you aware of this. And you can use color as part of a wider scene. It's complex and you have to be aware, but you're going to see when you see the photograph. So this is just an iPhone photograph, an example of playing with color. That was actually a shopping mall. So that's the outer layer of a store and the decoration of the outside that I thought it was very interesting visually. And then I took this one. This is not so much about color. This was in Tibet, and how I took this photograph was going into a store, and then I noticed that they were selling, and that was the daughter, I think, or the son from the person working there, and I had to navigate the social aspect to go into the back part of the store, go on top of the baby to this cenital image and photograph it. So Dirk was saying the other day that sometimes photographing people is not so easy, but it's common not only with you, it happens to everyone. So you have to start trying to work on it slowly, which is not easy sometimes. So what I want to talk today is something that I think is going to be very beneficial, for example, to Janet, and to some of you, and it's how to focus and how to focus properly. So what is happening nowadays is that pretty much everybody grabs the phone, right? We have the phone and we start shooting, and then we get nice photographs because the phone is automatically selecting where the actual phone is focusing on. The technology is so good and so advanced that photographs, they look very good, but what is happening on many occasions is that the focus does not fall where it should be. And that's the case with some of the photographs that you guys have sent me. So the key here is that not only we want to have images that are in focus, but we want to make sure that the focus happens to fall in when we want it to be. Okay, so that's very important because otherwise the phone is randomly selected. So I think, Patricia, I mentioned this when we were in Patagonia, so you're going to hear this again, but I'm sure you already applied these things. I know you remember everything. You look at everything, so you should remember this. Hope, are you there? Because I don't see you, but you're connected, right?
I see everybody. I'm here.
Okay, because
I see how.
Hi.
Okay.
Hi.
Okay. I just want to make sure. Because you keep on appearing and disappearing from my screen. Okay, so basically the way it works is you open your phone in camera mode, right? And I want everybody to do it. So if you don't know how to do it or you haven't done it before, I want to make sure that you do it properly. So this is my phone here. So normally what we do is we're here and we're just pressing the shutter, right? Remember we mentioned we can press here. We can use the volume up and down, and we can also use the headphone. So the very important thing here is that if you see this, I think the English word is credenza. So let's say the left cabinet on top, that's my main priority. I'm going to touch with my finger. I'm going to point it over there. And if you notice, you're gonna get like a yellow square. That's telling me that the phone is actually focusing on that one. And then boom, I click and the photograph it's in focus. Janet, can you practice a couple of times there? Because I know you have been failing, at least with the last images that you sent me. You get magnificent photographs, but sometimes the focus is a little bit off.
Right.
Susan, I don't know if you're doing these things or not, but I would like to see you do it, at least to make sure that you're aware how to do it. So basically, if you okay, so you tap, you get like that yellow, you get that yellow square, and that's telling me that the actual focus is whatever you have pointed. Okay. Hub, that's very important also for your storytelling, because by doing this, you can make sure that the right portion of the photograph is in focus, and then you can rearrange your composition. So for that storytelling, it's key. And the other thing that is very important, and Alex, I don't know if you know this, I'm sure you do, but if you don't, is once you do that, you see you have like a little sun on the right. I think you guys can see it. So you can swipe up and down, and that's allowing me to make the whole thing brighter or darker. Okay, so let's say that that Patricia is standing where she is. Actually, she's sitting down in front of that window that has a very bright light behind, right? So because the background is stronger than the foreground, we see her dark, right? Like if you look at her image, it looks darker to me, right? So if I was actually taking this real shot, what I would do is point, get the yellow square on Patricia's face, and then I will get that sun, swipe up until I overcompensate the darkness in her face. Okay? Something that you need to be aware, and this is very important, is once you start changing that brightness, it's not selective, right? This is not Lightroom or Photoshop that I can highlight her face and then only the face goes up. This is average. So if I make Patricia's face brighter, I'm also making the windows behind brighter too. So if I'm outdoors, what can happen? I can completely burn the background, but my subject will look good. So this is very important for you to remember that it's a trick that works, combining both the focus and the brightness, but you're affecting the overall look of the photograph. So how does it work, right? Basically, you just tap and hold. Something that I would like to say or suggest, and let me stand. So a little technique that I apply when I'm doing street photography, okay? And Dirk, I know you like street and travel photography and landscape, so this is quite interesting. So the idea of using the pre-focus is that sometimes in street photography, we choose a scene and then we wait for our actors to come into the photograph. So sometimes people look at my images or you see other photographers' images and you say, wow, how do you got that red wall with somebody with red shoes and a yellow hat? Very simple. I like the wall and I wait for a long time until with those pieces of attire walk through my scene. So let's say you go on assignment or you go on a trip, right? You wake up early in the morning, or even you land at night, you identify the spaces and the spots in the city that are going to be key for your photographs, and then you come back with the right light and you just wait. So basically you're recreating a scene. You find the spot that you find pleasant, and then you come back and you pre-focus. So let's say that I like a yellow chair that is in the middle of the square. So with that little technique that I show you, I will be kneeling down, focusing on that chair. I have it in focus, and then I wait. And then there's this little girl that comes up with a yellow dress running with a dog, and then I shoot. And that's when I can combine whatever is there with what my imagination is picturing out. But I make sure I have pre-focus so the images are in focus. If you don't do that, the phone is randomly choosing one way or another. So basically, I find a scene, I pre-focus, and then I wait for my subjects to walking. Okay, any questions about this? This is super simple, but it's a little trick that is very convenient. Any questions? No? Okay, simple.
Good.
So some of the examples or uses of locus of focus, well, you tap and select, and then the yellow square. Can you give me, Alex, one example of how can you use pre-focus in real life?
For something that's moving, like if you were at a sports game, you could pre-focus your background and make sure that it's, a good frame in the
Okay.
background. Then when somebody runs through the shot, if it's a, say, soccer
Okay.
match, then you
Yes.
the snap as soon as they ran through.
Okay. Hub, you want to give me an example?
Yeah, in one of the shots that I submitted,
I was going to tell you.
yeah. I was taking a picture of. Was actually there were reflections from a window, but I was actually looking through my house.
Yes.
From basically the back to the front door. In the front door, there's some really beautiful colors, and I was trying to focus on on the front door scene itself, and it didn't matter to me if the rest of it was a little bit out of focus. So I tried to do that with the phone, but I didn't know this trick, so I don't think I pulled it off the way I wanted to.
But it's very interesting because, for example, the kind of photo that Hub is describing, right? Let's say that I'm looking at the window of a store or through my own window, because I have different layers and different reflections. The same way with a camera that I can manually focus. With this little trick, I can focus on the glass, on the reflection, on the tree on the background. I can pretty much fool the viewer, and also I can change the focusing, which what matters. And something that happens many times, and people say, well, I don't have good eyes, right? I wear glasses, so I really don't see if I'm focusing on that kid's face. So how would I do that? Well, this is very simple, and nobody really does this with the phone. So basically, the little trick is, let's say I'm going to photograph that little girl that is walking with the yellow dress. So what I'm going to be doing is, before locking the focus, I'm going to zoom in, right? How do I do that, right? It's very simple. I'm gonna pinch with two fingers. With two fingers, I'm gonna pinch my screen. I'm gonna open them up. So I zoom all the way to the chair or the girl, right? That's step number one. So suddenly, instead of having like the frame very wide, I just get a very narrow of the chair that I'm focusing on. Now I'm gonna lock the autofocus the same way I have just described you. And after, I'm gonna pinch out, and then I can take my photograph. So that's how I can make sure that something that is very far, right? I can make sure that it's in focus. And normally nobody is doing this little trick, and it's very simple and it's key. That's how I know if I have a group of friends and there's one in particular that I want to make sure that the face is in focus. I pinch in, I open up, I zoom in, I lock, and then I zoom back, and then I take the photograph. Okay? Super simple. Some of these things, they sound simple, but if you write them down and you start applying, it will make a difference. So this is an example. This is a photograph that I took in New York, in Jackson Heights, when I used to be around walking and working on my project. So this is how I photograph these flowers. These roses that they were hanging on the outside of the window, that I thought they were very interesting. So I zoom in, I make sure that the flowers were in focus, I lock, I zoom out. But before zooming out, I also change the exposure to make sure that the darkness and the brightness, making sure, for example, that the curtains were not overexposed. It was almost the opposite. I was making the whole thing darker. Okay? So in a scene like this, I ask myself, where do I want the focus to be? That's number one. As I said again, I open with my fingers, zooming in. I select on the flowers. I get the lock, the out of focus. I zoom out, and then I take my photograph. Very simple process, very simple thing. So a quote of the day is that the soul becomes dyed with the colors of its thoughts. So I don't want to say much about this quote. I want you to think about it, because some of these quotes that they've been said and written in the past, I think they make total sense when it comes to the way we see the world and how we capture the world. And this is the other one that I think that is interesting, is that color is very much about the atmosphere and emotion and the feel of a place. So by using color, you can bring emotion. This is kind of interesting because pretty much none of you on your photographs, even though they're fantastic, you have played with this aspect of color. What you have done is simplify reality just to narrow down into almost like a macro vision, like a short, like a very narrow vision, instead of showing me a big place where color was actually the important thing. It's not right or wrong, but I'm just want to point these things out so you keep them in your mind. And talking about color, let's look at some photographs. I think the first ones are going to be mine, and then they transition. So I randomly chose some images of Colombia. I was thinking about Colombia today and the future and what it was happening. So let's talk about this photograph. Susan, I want you to talk about this photograph. What do you see here? How do you think I shot this image? What does it represent? What techniques were applied? What do you see? Let's talk photography.
I imagine that you focused on the woman on the right, or I don't know, on that side.
Yeah.
And then everything else is a little bit not so in focus, but it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I like it.
Would you say that color is a driving force in this photograph?
Yeah, and there's a lot of movement to it.
Yes. So it's about color and it's about movement, right? So
yeah.
It's not a random selection. This not suddenly happened. I had the chance to, as I said the other day, right? I'm given a white canvas. I am the one that can place my dancers, my background, my trees. I mean, they're not mine, whatever is in front of me. So I decided to make this photograph full of color, full of motion, and pretty much forgetting about the background. In order to do that, Dirk, this is very important with people photography. I have to be very, very close to the action, right? If I want to do people, I have to be right there with them, almost on top of the three dancers. And that's why I said day number one, compositional dance. I'm going to go forward and back because I don't want to be interfering with the dance, but at the same time, I want to be very close to the action. So this is a combination of both color and movement. Patricia, if you want to talk about this one.
What? I'm not sure what to say other than, I mean, it's a still life of a woman surrounded by green. So it's very natural.
Yes. So let me explain you how I took this photograph. So in order to do this, I use a drone. This was done as part of another project. So well, it's a long thing to explain, but basically on this one, I just wanted to contrast the skin that is whiter on the photograph with the green and having the whole thing having a green presence, right? So it's about green, about nature, and it's a nude, and it's very simple. This is very simple, but in reality, the frame is not so narrow because it was photographed up in the sky. What about yes?
Kike, was that taken with an iPhone, or are you just showing us images because of the color?
No. That one in particular, that was taken with a drone. I just said, Patricia.
I wasn't sure if there are drones or drones that can accept an iPhone to be the camera in the. So I wasn't sure if that's what you meant that was.
No. My apologies, because yes, I should have said that. No, that's not an iPhone photograph. That's something that was photographed from the air that I chose because it was a different, like a zenithal perspective, and then you see all the texture of the grass. But that's no. From what I know, there's no I mean, I fly the device using my phone, but it's captured on the phone, but it's a little camera that is attached to the drone. Dirk, you want to talk about this one in particular?
I don't know. Well, you
What?
capture the light on the pool, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
and the reflection comes up very clear.
Yes. Well,
And
maybe.
although the mountains around it are dark, you can still see the reflections of the houses on the mountains on the back.
Mm-hmm.
So that, and the bright white clouds. So yeah.
Okay, so this is an image very difficult to produce. Maybe not the best example, and actually I don't know how well you see it. But basically was to play around with the light when it was going down in order for this photograph to make some sort of a sense. These are hot springs from a volcano. This is high up in the mountains. And in order for this image to start working a little bit, right, you need to have some sort of background, which happens to be that foggy feeling on the back, the lights, and I have to have the bouncing light from the pool so I get to see something, and also those silhouettes or profiles from the trees. What about this one, Hub? You want to talk about this one?
Second, I have to move everybody's faces off.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yes.
Okay, I see. Gosh, the main elements to me are movement and color. You
Yes.
can't, so you can assume wind, and it's early, so you see shadow.
Yes.
You see very little of the person, fingers and feet, basically.
So, sorry for a second, Alex. Are you giving us like a crib tour, like in TV?
Sorry, no, I'm at my boyfriend's family's house.
No,
and
no, 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 no.
home,
I'm
so.
just teasing you. Sorry, Hub. What? Yes, yes.
Sorry about that.
I'm just reflecting on elements that I see, and tire tracks in the sand.
Yes. So the reason that I chose this photograph is that it's about simplicity and motion and color, right?
Yep.
But there were many. This was one of my workshops in Colombia, one of our tours. But it's very interesting that everybody photographed this differently. And I noticed that everybody was including all the background. But I thought by making it dusty and about the soil, which is very dry, I think it's one of the driest places in, they're having very big issues. I think it was about the barefoot, walking on the sand, the shadow being projected, and the very strong wind, which are the actual elements that they characterize La Guajira border with Venezuela. So when you take photographs, you have to think about those elements and trying to find that simplicity. Sometimes you want to add more things. Other times you want to get rid of pretty much everything. So it becomes very, very simple. So this is just another image that color happens to be prevalent and important. This is in Cartagena, Colombia. Okay, so today I want to show you the work of Alex Webb. I don't know if you're familiar with his work. Amazing way of using color as part of very complex compositions. So these are some of his images, and the reason that I picture Alex is that his images are very different from the images that pretty much everybody has submitted. And this is the message that I'm trying to put across in today's class when we talk about color, among other things. The fact that color is a driving force in our image does not mean that we need to go so close that the only thing that I see is one finger of the kid and the branch or the green leaf. You can have a wider scene of the world and see everything, okay? So I'm going to show you some examples here that color is important, but so is composition and light. So you don't need to get rid of the whole thing, right? You have to include other things too. This was taken in Panama, so this is about the blue, the green, the red. Also here, color is very important, okay? So I don't want to comment too much on the images. I want you to look at them and see what details do you appreciate or which things do you see. This is another image of his, where again, color is super, super important. It's creating an atmosphere, it's creating a sense of space and a sense of place, but it's not minimalist. There's lots of information there, and that's the point that I'm trying to put across. Another example, you see this is driven by color, but it's not one color, there's many colors. And I don't know why when people are doing their photography and in early stages and even later on, people tend to get rid of color and just choose very not many colors. They minimize the whole thing. And what I'm trying to tell you is that you have to open and include the whole palette that is present in nature. So let's look at a video, and I think you'll enjoy. Hopefully, sound is gonna go. Let me know if
I'm going to give you a brief overview of this new book, The Suffering of Light, that encompasses some 30 years of my color work. It's an exploration of an obsession that's started in 78, 79, a way of seeing in color in certain kinds of places. The book is organized chronologically, so it really reflects the somewhat chaotic and often mysterious process of creation. Projects pop up at certain times in the middle of other projects. Book starts on the border, an arrest in San Isidro, California. Borders have always been really important to me. This is also from the border, from Boquillas, Mexico. I've been continuously drawn to borders and edges of societies, places where cultures come together, sometimes easily, sometimes roughly. And this, for me, sort of sums up something about the border. I mean, the border sort of attracts all kinds of stuff to it from both cultures. So this has got Christ, Santa Claus, the Backstreet Boys, and a prostitute's legs. I mean, I think many Mexicans and North Americans view the border with some sense of distaste, but I find the border fascinating in the way these two utterly different cultures come together and mix and produce something else, another culture. Discovering Istanbul and getting excited about working in Istanbul enabled me to let the U.S.-Mexico border project go. Because, you know, Istanbul's another kind of border. It's ancient and modern, Eastern and Western, Islamic and secular. Very different than the U.S.-Mexico border, but still has that strange, slightly unsettled quality of, at times, you don't quite know where you are. I kind of photograph to be able to understand what it is and why it is that I'm photographing. As the 80s rolled on, I began to work more and more in Mexico. Something about the lyricism of the world of children in Mexico, something about the specific nature of the mystery of Mexico fascinated me. Some pictures began to deal with modern Mexico like this one, others like this one from Tehuantepec, more traditional Mexico. 87 rolled around. I returned to Haiti again and again to photograph the violence of the 87 elections. Haiti, summer and fall of 87, descended into a kind of cycle of violence where provocateurs set up burning barricades to destroy elections. There were memorial services for people killed by the army or by the paramilitary. There were dead bodies in the streets in the early morning. I mean, this for me captures something or another about the true strangeness of Haiti, this combination of horror and beauty. Something I, on some level, never have entirely been able to understand.
So that was the first video that I wanted to share. You may ask, how does he capture so beautiful colors? Well, one of the things is because his perception of reality, but the other thing that I know many of you know about by now is you have to work very early in the morning or very late at night. Before sun goes down. Some people spend the whole midday, walking around a city, exploring, scouting the streets, and then the photographs are taken in half an hour, early morning, half an hour before the sun goes down, and that's it. That's the work. So I know it's counterintuitive because you want to be walking the streets all the time, but if you want to play with magical colors, you have to seek those colors in nature. and that's key in those times of the day. And I want to talk about or share another video and work of somebody called Paolo Pellegrin. How many of you are familiar with Paolo Pellegrin? Does anybody know him?
No.
Nope. So he's a magnum photographer, Italian, has won many awards. But the reason that I'm going to show his work is that it's completely different from what you've seen with Alex Webb. Also, both masters of the craft, but I want you to see the contrast between.
I am a working photographer, so I work for magazines. So, for example, when I worked for the National Geographic, sort of I'm asked to work in color. So you know that is an aspect. My idea, of photography is always a sort of I call them sort of unfinished pictures. You know, pictures are sort of where the viewer has a space sort of to enter, to engage, sort of. And I'm very interested in this dynamic, sort of, you know, so it's not about creating beautiful images, but it's images which are sort of meaningful and they say things and that allow sort of, you know, that leave some things unspoken and by doing so allow the viewer sort of to enter and engage. So. And I feel sort of, you know, that I'm able sort of to do this more in black and white. Another aspect is that I started my career in photography sort of in black and white. Sort of the photographers that I studied most sort of were all people sort of who express themselves in black and white. And I very much feel that I'm in a tradition.
So pretty much most of his work is in black and white. And something I would like you to do for the next day, I would like you to find one image from Paolo Pellegrin and one image from Alex Webb. You can search the web, send me the low res so we can look at it. They're completely different styles, but I want you to spend some time searching and looking how they both see the world and how they navigate one color and the other one absence of color. Okay, so choose one and one. No limit in terms of topics or which image. There's no restriction. Whatever you find, whatever you want to share, that will be great.
Kike,
So
how do you spell
yes.
Alex's last name again?
Okay, so this one is the second one is Paolo, like Paolo, Paolo, and then the last name is Pele, like Pellegrin, Pellegrin.
Uh-huh.
And the other one is Alex, Alex, Webb.
Okay.
Okay, so you just Google, do some research. Let's see what you come up with. I was gonna do the opposite. I wanted to show you the contrast, but I thought, no, I think it would be nicer and better if you guys do some research and you see what you come through on styles. What do you like better? Because one of the questions that people ask is like, should I use black and white or should I use color? Like why people are using black and white. So maybe this will be a helpful exercise for you to start seeing the different and which one to apply. So I think this is Susan. Is that correct, Susan? So Susan, tell us why did you photograph? I like your decoration. I assume the photographs were at home. So
You said they to do it at home, so.
yeah, no, obviously. But the question is like, why do you crop this image in this particular way? Why do you introduce color into the image this way? I want to navigate your thinking process.
Okay. I didn't crop it. I just took this. I just looked at it and I said, I like this, and I took it. It's not cropped. It's just the way it was.
Okay, no, when I mean crop it, I mean
that's
frame
the composition is just the way I saw it, and you said to take pictures of color in our house, and that's what I did.
Okay.
I tried to vary them. The 5 of them were kind of varied, and this was one of them.
Okay. I'm not criticizing in any negative way.
I'm here for that.
I want to know, because it's very interesting when you guys submit. So, Hub, why don't you comment on this photograph taken by by Susan? Why do you see here? What do you see?
I see.
The first thing, do you like it or you don't like it? Do you think it's a powerful image or it's not? Does it put a message across, or is just what is your honest opinion about this image in particular?
I can't tell if it's in focus or not. I'm maybe it's my eyes, so that distracts me. If it's not in focus, that will distract me. But I do like the picture. I like the cleanliness of the lines. I like the artistry on the black, and the artistry of the hanger itself, whatever that is, and it makes me want to look closer. So that to me is that's something I appreciate about a photograph.
Okay, fantastic. What about this one, Dirk? What do you think about this photograph?
I don't know. I think I have to agree, or maybe want to say something in general. I think I understand what you're trying to get, but I think it's not, I wouldn't say unfair, but you ask us to take pictures of our household, then you try to criticize them based on artistic talent. So I think that's not really going to work. I mean, if we're going to go around the house to take pictures, we're obviously not going to find indigenous in the Andes behind clouds. So she's taken a picture of something that has color in it, in her household, I guess. And that's, I don't know if that's the most colorful she had, but I guess it's something that for her represents color. So I think there's not much more to say about that.
Okay, but for example, I know you're right. And when I ask you to do these things, hopefully there's not an indigenous walking around in the house or somebody hiding. But there's many ways to approach the craft, and that's the purpose with the exercise, and also see how other people see their home and their effort. For example, I did a project or a class, the art of storytelling, with the marketing people of Coca-Cola, and we had everybody from the whole region for a weekend. They came up with very creative things. I know that what I requested was very clear, but it's a possibility of experiment with other things. So, for example, I like the photographs. I think Susan images. Of course, it's a nice image and use of color. But then, for example, when it comes to composition is also related to the crafting of the image. So that's the type of thing that I'm looking for, that we comment on images to see how could we make them better, or maybe there's no way to make them better, because as I said to Susan, I love the style, I love the decoration, I love the things, but I'm not looking for a story per se. I'm just trying to understand how she looks at things when she goes back into the open world. She can apply those things. So, for example, the one question would be, when she framed this photograph, right? Does it make sense to have like the black area on the left and the table and the red corner there, or could have that been composed differently? Could have she moved that sculpture, or that piece away from the wall in order to make it shallow depth of field and isolate from the background, because these same little things you're applying at home, they apply in the real world. It's exactly the same thing. But when we see our own households, it's not so exciting at times because it's our own space. For example, your images were extremely graphic, super graphic. But so let's continue. For example, this photograph, it worked for me. Why? Because as Hub said, initially, the one that has the cushions and everything was pretty organized. I know what I'm looking at, but this one I had to look twice, right? And I had to start analyzing, and then the reflection, and then the darkness, and then the red. So I had to think. So images can be descriptive, they can be artistic, or they can be both. They can put a message across, or they can leave an open message of interpretation for everybody. So different people, they see and navigate reality in a different way. So for me, this photograph is more interesting than the other ones, even though this is more simple. But I'm not really understanding, and then I look again and I try to figure it out. But that's my perspective. Janet, what do you think about this one in particular?
I like the flowers. I like the fact that the green does not distract. It doesn't walk out the flowers, and I like the cleanness of it.
Mm-hmm. I like it a lot too. Like from what you submit, Susan, this and the previous one is my favorite. The use of color and the simplicity, I particularly like on both of them. These are Patricia. Patricia, are you there?
I'm here.
Yes. So you want to talk about a little bit about your photographs? Why do you select the images you selected?
Well, when you said color, I thought you wanted us to kind of isolate a color, or well, pretty much isolate a color. So I have the white kind of tone brown here. So that's, and I like the shape of the shell and the way the light was coming in from the window. And this.
Okay. Have you seen these famous photographs of vegetables in black and white?
Yes, that's Strand. I think that was Edward Strand.
Yes. Have you seen that work?
Yes.
So that's a good work that you could look at, because they're very simple objects, but you start analyzing the quality of light, the time of the day, how the shadow is being projected. This one I found very, very interesting. I like your selection. I like the message and what it represents. And again, maybe it was my mistake, because when I said find color, maybe I was kind of giving you directions to isolate color, but the idea was to use color in any way you want. And I don't know why the other one skipped, but these are images from Janet. I like the images. What I noticed, Janet, and I'm going to be honest with you, is that some of them, they're out of focus. That's why when I was suggesting that what I was mentioning or saying at the beginning of the class you should apply, is because there's no focus in this photograph at all whatsoever. Not even the drops, not even the leaves on the background. But then you submit another that was very in focus. So this is out of focus too. Okay. Mm-hmm. So there's no focus in this photograph whatsoever. But in this one, this is tack sharp, and this is in focus. So that's a mistake that I found. Like you were, I guess, randomly allowing the phone to select the focusing point. So what I'm suggesting is that all of you actually point with your finger exactly the area that you wanted in focus, and then you create your composition. Okay.
And a bit of wind that day too.
Okay, but I'm just saying that make sure that they're in focus. Right. So this is Hub that is sent us very interesting images using color. I like that not only you were using color, but you were also using composition and very graphic elements. So it made me wonder and analyze the photograph over and over again and see what was going on there, which is what I think you should do. So simplicity is not a bad thing, but if you can combine simplicity with adding a question or something for the viewer to wonder, it makes your images much more powerful. You send this one. The focus happens to be on the foreground. The statue, the sculpture on the background is semi-blurry, so it's in the background. But let me go to these ones that I thought they were very interesting. And you made me think about the image. I see the reflection over there I can see a reflection with the glasses. So can you talk about how you put together this photograph? What happened here?
Well, it wasn't until I got it onto the bigger screen that I realized it made me look naked, but I'm not, just so you know.
No, I noticed too.
Just so you know, it's not from one of your drone pictures, Kike.
Different technique.
So I wanted color, and I get a lot of reflection, as you can see behind the bird. I get a lot of reflection off of my back windows in the late afternoon. And of course, this bird has beautiful color, and even the seed in the beak has color. So, but it wasn't enough of a story for me. So I submitted 2 photos of this subject, and one is with reflection off of the sunglass, so you could actually see me taking the photograph. I have it on a tripod. You can't see my face on purpose because I wanted that to be mysterious. But again, I didn't know how much that the flesh would make it look weird. And then there's another one in which I used reflection off of a wine bottle and the glasses, but the glasses were more pointed toward the sky to bring in more blue.
Yes.
But
I like how that they're very good examples of what you can do with color, but you have not minimized the surroundings, right? There's many things to look at. You make me wonder, right? You said that you have put those glasses so I see your own reflection, but you could even have pointed the reflection towards the room. So you have shown me like an open window or the kitchen, whatever is there that I don't know. You can provide us information about that room or that space besides yourself. And it's very focused from foreground to midground and the bird, and then it becomes out of focus. So
that wasn't on purpose. I did not know how to do the yellow square until today. So everything, I wanted the close-up part to be focused and not the background, which is what I got. But as you can see, both the bird and the reflection in both lenses of the sunglasses were in focus, as well as the seeds. So.
And it's fantastic, and I like it a lot. So let's look at the other one.
Right. So there's a little bit. I have to move this to get it cut. There's cut off at the bottom on mine. So you can see in this one, the lens, the glass, the sunglasses. Now you see more sky. There wasn't enough blue in the picture to me, and so I wanted. There's a tiny bit in the window, but I wanted a little more blue. So I brought in the wine bottle, and I changed the angle of my sunglasses so you could see sky and trees in the background. In the opposite.
I love both, and again, this is a great example of what I was trying for you guys to do. Obviously, this has special characteristics based on where you live and circumstances and window of opportunity. But you play with the space and the message, creating something that is captivating to look at, right? And there's lots of color. So you have not narrowed that. You can also have photographed that plate with just, like the green around and all the seeds from an upper perspective that will have been colored too. But by doing this, you're bringing me a story within a story, plus the reflection on the glasses.
I tried to include a wine glass, but I had to wait so long that I drank the wine. The bottle was.
That's why you buy one of these clickers that I described the other day.
Right.
So just lying down.
I ordered it 10 seconds after we were done with class last week. So
you're just lying down on the couch watching TV, and then you're producing your assignment.
Yeah.
So exactly. I have a question. Have you cropped the photograph, and what lens do you use? I think you have the 11, so you have pretty much a wide-angle lens and like a narrower. So like not only for me, but for your classmates, did you actually crop it? Or were you using like super wide angle and you were very close to it and then you crop the other things? How do you put it together?
Yes, I used a super wide angle. The camera and the tripod are very close, probably 3 or 4 inches away from the sunglasses. And so mostly I was looking for the inclusion of color in my cropping. So I purposely cropped a bit out of the sunglasses and the edge of the wine bottle. I didn't want to get distracted with what the label on the wine said. So I chose to crop that out. So you just saw reflection off of the bottle itself.
It's a very good photograph. So for everyone, think in these terms. Whenever you use color, think how can I bring color into a storytelling, and not only like by minimizing color. Not that narrowing down your view or your vision into a detail is a wrong thing or a bad thing. It could be a fantastic complement, right? Or you could have a whole series. I'm just trying to give you different things to think about when you're putting together stories. I think this was sent by Alex. Is that correct, Alex?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yes. So can you tell us about your photo selection here really quickly?
Yeah, I like the texture in it. This is a blanket that his grandma made, and it was sitting over a couch by the window. I liked all the different hues in it. But yeah, I really like the texture because it could really be anything. It could be a carpet. It could be, you don't really know exactly what it is. But yeah, I just kind of like the different textures and tones.
Okay, but something for you guys to think about, right? So you have chosen to give me or show us the detail of the carpet. That you could have shown us the detail of the carpet at the same time that somebody was barefoot on the carpet and had a drink next to it. Or the other day, I think it was your boyfriend's hand like this, right? Like in this position from the upper portion. So you could play with those type of composition and include color. There's no need to completely isolate everything to make it very simple. So I want you to start working on that. And there's a reason. When people are developing their photography and they're acquiring skills, we all go through the same stages and we all take the same kind of photographs. So when it's kind of interesting to see, but as an outsider, I see some of the things that you should, because I have photographed them before. And before I went to a different stage, I photographed many of the same, and then they lost interest, and then I came to do some other things. But it's not only me. I think it happens to everyone. And that's why I'm bringing these ideas, because with a little push, that's how you step out of comfort zone to come up with something that is a little bit different. Not because they're bad photographs, because they're extremely beautiful. This one in particular, I think, is very interesting. It makes me wonder. I'm so invaded by color that I'm completely like I walk in nature, even though it's not nature. But I'm just looking at the details. Then I notice the quality of the material that is being built, and then the blue in the background. So it's like throwing buckets of water into my face. I mean, of paint, and I'm struck by the color. So this one has a very interesting effect in my mind too. This one, for example, Alex, and that's one of the things that I wanted to say. Yes, you have included color and have used color, but to create an image that is not very well put together. Mm-hmm. It's just the aquarium photographed through the glass. I think that's the filter on the background. I can see the eyes, but it's just like more into the snapshot category, in my opinion, not to offend the snapshot style. If you had photographed getting rid of the upper portion and I didn't see the filter and it was all about the shapes of the actual animal and then the coloring and became very graphic, it would have been better, in my opinion, because by not showing me the whole and only a portion and seeing the background, it's not very interesting to me in that sense as a photo, right? Like trying to push the limits. So these ones were sent by, I think this is Dirk. This is you, right, Dirk?
Yep.
Extremely graphic images. I like them a lot. I thought they were very interesting selections. You're very good with composition, that I can tell you. Janet, what do you think about this photograph of Dirk?
I like it. I like the colors. I like the cleanness of it. There's no distraction, and you can see the detail of the borders. And I also like the yellow flower that just pops, and is presented with the white background. It's very clean and very pretty.
I like them a lot too. I like better, Dirk, the ones you took for your project. I thought those were fantastic. So let's get to them. So these are very graphic images, which I like, and that was part of the exercise. But basically, is to start you thinking about color. How can I use color? Can I use color to my advantage? Can it become distracting? Do I use it for mood? Obviously, it's a graphic element. Obviously, it brings something, but we have to take it to a different aspect. This photo, I thought it was very interesting too. The use of color, the whole thing. In my opinion, this one, it would have been also interesting to come a little bit further back and show me more of the space, because I can see the clothing on the back. But these are things that I can live.
This is an image that I took before the course, but I tried to get out of my box of being very graphic, and I saw that picture because of something else, and I thought maybe that is also something that reflects color, and I had to crop it down because there was so much other stuff in it. As you can see, my bathing short is in the back, which after 2 days of course with you would not be in there anymore. Okay. So I had to crop out a lot more, and it was a lot wider, but it was very confusing because that was a snapshot. So
okay, well, Dirk, but you know, when we started these conversations and you mentioned your background and what you do, and being German, and thinking, but I'm glad that you've seen these things and try to become flexible when it comes to photography, because you are a very good photographer already, but you just have to add some flexibility. Like the images you sent for the project, I'm going to share with the class, and you're going to see they're fantastic. There's one in particular that I thought is right on target with the type of things that you have to start creating in the future. So this is one of the images that was taken by Hub, right?
Right.
For your project. You surprised me, to be honest. And I like to be surprised, not because I care that you photograph me, but because it's something that I didn't expect. So that's something readers, and when you work on a book or whatever, you do a presentation or do an art exhibit, whatever purpose of your images are for, I didn't expect this. And right, I was like, oh my God, what is this? Okay, let me look. And then I start looking at everybody's faces and somebody's smiling. So you are telling a story in a way that is unexpected.
Yeah,
and you grabbed my attention right away.
Yeah, everybody's doing something different, and it's a way of taking a picture of a group with them everybody being in a different place, and it also tells you that there's a class. So, I'm working on portraits, so I liked it.
Absolutely, and you surprised me, and I like it too. And one more time, I'm going to say the same thing that I said to Dirk, and I will keep on repeating because I mean it in a good way. Don't narrow down your world, Hub, because I see you keep on doing it, and try to think beyond, right? You can do the same photograph and show me more of the room, and there's no need to crop it and bring it down to this. Because, and I'm going to tell you why, because if you present a story, right, and every single photograph has the same type of crop, it becomes too obvious for the viewer, and we tend to lose attention.
Well, I didn't take a picture with the photograph to begin with, didn't have much more than this, but I also really wanted to include the people, and I felt like if it was farther back, we wouldn't get the smile on Susan's face.
Yeah, fantastic.
No,
I love it. I'm not criticizing.
No, I'm just saying. You see, with my other shots, I did go farther back with my other shots.
Okay, I'm just a mirror of what you do, so we start all looking at things. Yeah. Okay, what about this one that you bring me so close to the detail? Why this one?
Okay, so this is part of the exercise of either go closer or farther.
Yes.
In this case, the albatross chicks were being banded, and there was lovely color, and the very interesting tattoo on the bander's hand. and the light just happened to hit the band just right, so I used it for a shot.
Okay. I'm glad that you're starting thinking back and forth.
Mhm.
What is the purpose of this one as part of your project? What does this image tell us or should tell us? Why did you choose this one in particular?
Well, I'm experimenting with going farther back, like you've been advising. So I went farther back, and I don't go very many places where they're not just all about the birds. So and this is kind of a quintessential shot of this particular person who is she's a scientist who's very inquisitive about all kinds of aspects of nature. So she was on the ledge of a canyon looking down into something quite spectacular, actually. But the clouds were rolling in. Minutes later, it was all clouds and you couldn't see the mountains at all. So that's what went into that. Okay,
I like the selection. I'm not going to be commenting on to this. What about this one?
So here's somebody photographing the albatross, and in the interest of moving farther away, I went behind a tree to take the picture, and I also wanted to include what she was taking pictures of, in part, but also to show how relaxed the birds were with her. So you could see that there's no distress. You could also see more of the background, more of what the kind of setting that she's in.
Oh. Yes. Mm-hmm. I like it. I like the selection, the images selections that you did. So these are the two photographs. I think it was two that they were sent by Dirk. The one I particularly like. I mean, I like both. I like the simplicity. I like the fact that it's capturing like a moment of play. Putting under the jacket and playing around, and the dress. I like the color palette, because it's very pastel, it's very soft. But the image that I really like is the next one. I thought this photograph was fantastic in terms of storytelling, and that's why I say I know you can do it. This is a super graphic image, but at the same time you have expanded, and it's not so much about the graphic. And now there's a message that is part of the project, which is what I'm trying to push you guys to put together. This is the kind of image that gets published. And I liked it because it surprised me, the same way that Hub's picture surprised me. And I'm not saying that when I see some of your other images, I don't get surprised, but I see so many images that there's some of the images that they fall into the postcard category that I said, which is not a bad thing, because actually postcards they sell, or they used to sell. But because I want to take your images further, I'm going to be honest with you. When Alex told me that she was going to be doing a story about color and compositions and graphic things on her road trip, I was a little disappointed, Alex. Not because I think it's a bad project, because that kind of trip is going to present so many opportunities to take photographs that they go beyond your comfort zone. And that's why when you said, this is what I'm going to be doing, well, that is your choice. But going through a road trip is going to present so many opportunities that you could choose something that is more complex to achieve. So why do I like this photograph? Well, automatically, I know what is being taken. Well, I live 4 years in Panama, so I know exactly the area, the building, the direction, and I can recognize what is there. But besides that, you're in a city. You see how it has been placed on the floor next to the window. If you like the painting from Vermeer, right? Most of those images, most of those paintings were done with a person standing next to a window. So if you know how to photograph the right time of the day, that window, or even closing the curtain so it becomes very smooth and transitions through the cloth, it becomes very beautiful. So these are little tricks that you have to start being aware. It does not bother me on this one, Dirk, that the doll is on the floor, that the backpack is on the floor, even though you know I'm very exquisite, I'm very perfectionist, but I think it's part of the scene, and it has been put in a way that it's about your daughter, the moment that she's enjoying, the space in the home, the distribution of the furniture, and she's trapped, well, not anymore, but they can go out, and it's part of a story. And actually, this photograph, I think it will work well with the other photograph of the plant that was kind of, they came with that same background. So I think it's a great choice. Not everybody sent me images from their project unless I made a mistake, but that's okay because it's an ongoing thing. So what would I like you to do for the following day? I want you to look at your work again that has been taken with iPhones, pretty much in the way that Dirk did with that photograph of her daughter and the bath, and identify something that was a disaster in the past, right? We kind of did this, but I want you to do it thoroughly now that we have spoken more, and see if you can find some images that they were a complete disaster when you took them, or they were technically very difficult to do, and you show them to us. So you bring me, I'm not giving you a number. It can be 1, it can be 2, it can be 3, and say, hey, Kike, I was on a trip, or this photograph the other day, and it was a disaster. This is what I did, but now I realize we could have done this. So that's the first one. I want you to find 2 images, one from Paolo Peregrini and one from Alex. In any way, I'm not going to give you direct instruction on this is what I want. I want you to discover their work a little bit by playing around and researching online, because I want you to discover their styles. I think people really learn to look by looking at others' work and going to museums, but that's not going to happen in the short term. So let's use the internet for that purpose. And let's take one photograph using the focusing, the locking of the focus, and we're going to do it in 2 ways. I want you to take a photograph that you have to adjust the brightness, right? So you're going to lock on something, and you're going to use adjusting that brightness into your advantage. So obviously, how are you going to do that? I'm not going to tell you. But if there's a bright window, early in the morning, late at night, I want you to do that in a way that is actually useful, so it stays with you in the future, which is the idea of all these things. Sometimes of the exercise, they're limited, but the idea is that you bring those tools and those lessons for you in the future. And then the other one, let's take a photograph that is using pre-focus. So those 2 things I want you to experiment with. Okay, just one photograph of that. So that's what I wanted to share today. I would love is as the days pass by and we talk about things, you work on your projects. Obviously, this is not mandatory and I cannot force you because you have freedom of doing whatever you feel you want to do. But it would be nice as they pass by, if every day you choose 1 or 2 photographs. There's no need that I see them, but hopefully by the end, you'll have a group of images that we can see as a whole, and it will be very interesting. Okay, so that's what I had to share today. I'll see you on.
Kike, can I ask about the class schedule? We have
absolutely
this week and next week. Is that right, or when is our last class?
You got me there. Overall, we have 7.
Right.
You got me there. I'm in remote. I'm in automatic mode here. So
okay.
I don't know. Like I should know, but I don't know. This was class number 4, and we have three
that
more.
Means, so 5 would be June 4th,
Yes.
6 would be June 8th, and 7 would be June 11th. So next
Yes.
a week from Thursday would be the last one?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And it would be nice if you do some effort to take those photographs, because I can give you ideas, I can give you feedback, but it's up to you to do the work, right? I can present you photographers, so you like black and white, or you compare, or you come up with a conclusion, but it's by making your own mistakes that you find your own voice. And we all go through different developing stages. I've been day trading, and I've been trading for several months now. And that's what I discovered, that day trading is very similar to photography. You have to make a whole bunch of mistakes before you see the light, and boom, what it was so complex, now it becomes nothing, and you start seeing differently. So if you can do the assignment, it's fantastic. If you can do the projects, that's fantastic too. And if you have any questions as we go along, you can email me, you can send a WhatsApp message. I'm here to help you, and I'm happy to provide feedback. Okay? Don't get disappointed if some of my feedback on the images was a little dry or I didn't comment too much, but time is limited, so I have to balance information in order to put message back to the class. Okay, so nice to see everyone again, and ciao ciao.
Ciao,
Be
ciao.
safe.